Let's get started. We will get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru, like we always do. So let me share my screen. Let me know if you're able to see it. Are you able to see my screen? Great.
Yes, you can see that. Yeah, all good. Yeah.
I loved your baritone voice, Shyamji. Okay, whatever you have for breakfast, please have it every day. Okay, give me a sec. This new thing has started. Okay, now it's fine. So we'll get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurudevo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. All right. So Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening to all of you. A very warm welcome. So let's get started with our Soul Soup segment. So we are talking about success, happiness, and fulfillment series. As part of it, we've been talking about the role of deliberate practice, um, ability to tolerate pain. And today we will continue on this. Yesterday we spoke about the marshmallow experiment, where if we are willing to sacrifice the short-term pleasures, then we can reap long-term benefits. That's what we spoke about, like as illustrated by that marshmallow experiment that was carried out by Mr. Walter Mischel. So today we will continue on that discussion and talk about what is the most important muscle worth investing in. Does anybody know? Now here we are not talking about becoming a WWF wrestler, but it is a muscle. Okay, and the most important muscle that is worth investing in is, this is the muscle, you see that? The usual muscle, but this one is the muscle of willpower. This is the most important muscle that would serve us or hold us in good stead in our lives. And what is this willpower that we are talking about? Where does it reside? So this is our brain, and in front of our brain, there is something called prefrontal cortex. And this is like a muscle. The more you strengthen it, you can do strength training for it as well, like we do for all our muscles of other body parts. And this can also be strengthened. What do we gain out of strengthening it? So what resides in it is the willpower and the self-control aspect of it. Okay, so it's a very important muscle that is worth investing in, and we need to leverage it for our benefit and keep on enhancing or strengthening this muscle. In fact, the strength of this muscle is determined by the thickness of this part of your brain. So the more your willpower is, the thicker your prefrontal cortex would be. Now, amongst all the mammals, humans have the largest brain. When we say largest brain, in proportion to their body weight. Okay, which is pretty interesting. If you look at it, humans. Now, human brain, it makes up for 1/40th of the body mass. So if you're 40 kg, your brain would be around 1 kg. Body mass, not the body weight. So there's a difference between mass and weight, right? Gravity comes into picture when we talk about weight, and there is no gravity in mass. Mass is constant, weight is variable. So the human brain, it makes up 1/40th of the body mass, I said, and then more staggering is that it consumes 1/5 of the calories you burn for energy. That much your brain can consume, right? And think, if you talk and consume somebody else's brain, it can actually take away 1/50th also in a given day. That much power your brain has. 1/5 of the calories are burned by your brain only. That is how important it is. And it has a very large prefrontal cortex of human brain only. And that's lobe of the brain right behind the forehead and eyes. That's where resides. Now, the main task of prefrontal cortex on human brain is to enable us to do the harder thing. The harder things that we do, it's enabled through the prefrontal cortex. And to forsake the more pleasurable ones. More importantly, it forsakes the pleasurable one. And the thicker it is, the more your willpower is, the more you will go for beneficial thing as opposed to the ones which are pleasurable. And when it is easier to continue to lie in the bed, especially in these Dallas mornings, what tells you, what empowers you to get up and go about your daily courses, your prefrontal cortex. Otherwise, if that was not there, you would have slept away to glory for the rest of the day. Okay, that can happen too. And it is more comfortable to sit and watch television from our living room, because or to become a couch potato than going for a yoga practice. So the prefrontal cortex is central to what makes us human, and it provides us the willpower and self-control. There are three components which are important to willpower, which we will talk about tomorrow. So we'll continue this discussion because we have been talking about self-control in kids and how you can start building in some of those sanskars or attributes in kids. You can introduce it to them early on in life. There's a technique called fervorization as well. We'll not get into that. But it is a very important virtue in human beings to inculcate, because we have that ability to discern, discriminate, and do things using this amazing, um, you know, amazing aspect, or basically part of the brain that God has endowed us with. Okay. So willpower. So hopefully it makes sense. Now let's move on to our shloka. We'll pick up three hands today because we have some discussion related to a very fascinating topic that we are on, and we have a hard stop as well. So I'm going to recite it, and then you're welcome to follow along. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyas Karma Yogascha Nishreya Sakarabho Tayostu Karma Sanyasyat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. Okay, do we have any?
Yeah. Sandhya, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe
श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासः कर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते.
Very nice, thank you. Let's take a few more hands.
We only have the hands raised, no cameras. So shall we take them or avoid them?
Let's take, no, why? Okay, yes, go ahead, Sunita ji.
Radhe Radhe. Sorry.
Riya ji is going to turn on her camera just in time. So, but Sunita ji, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Let me turn my video on.
Thank
Now
you.
you can. Okay. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasah Karma Yogasya Nisreya Sakara Vrubho Tayostu Karma Sanyasyat Karma Yogo Visistate. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, thank you, Sunita ji. Very nice. Okay, let's take a couple of more hands.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyaskaravubho Tyoastu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yogo Vashishyate. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, very nice, Sam ji. Thank you. Okay, we can take the remaining two hands as well.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Sanyasakर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते.
Very nice.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Not the least, Praghi ji, go ahead.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Praghi ji.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyaskaravubho Teostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate.
Very nice, Praghi ji. Okay, I see.
Radhe Radhe.
See, when the train leaves, there are invariably a couple of passengers. They just make it. So that's Lakshmi ji and Aparna ji. So go ahead, Lakshmi ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha Nishriyeya Sakaravubhau Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. Radhe Radhe. Thank you.
This sets the tone for you to do Karm Yog for the rest of the day, right? In your office today. Okay, Lakshmi ji is a doctor, by the way. Okay, so thank you.
Thank
Aparna ji, okay, last hand, and then we continue with our discussion.
Radhe Radhe. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyasakaravubhau Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So in this shloka, Lord is saying both the path of Karm Sanyas and Karm Yog working in devotion lead to the supreme goal. So it's very clearly stating there's absolutely no difference. They are both the means. The goal is going to be the supreme goal, which is God realization that you're talking about. But then he goes on to say, he's categorically stating very clearly that Karm Yoga is superior to Karm Sanyas, and this is where we are going to focus our discussion on today. So let's move on. So this is where the context is, right? Arjun is asking Lord Krishna, Karm Yoga or Karm Sanyas? Just tell me that decisively, which one is better? Lord Krishna is telling that Karm Yoga is better. So he's telling, Karm Sanyas is a renunciation of work. Karm Yoga is working in devotion. They have opposite natures. And one, you are renouncing the action itself, and on the other hand, you are actually fighting the war. Just tell me which one is better. And this is the doubt that Lord Krishna is going to resolve. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Now, what is insurance? Let's get the thought process going here. Are you a big fan of insurance? Some people insure even the pencil that they buy, right? Anything and everything you insure because it's a safeguard. Anybody who's a big fan of insurance here? Why or why we should not do it? I'm not going to have a long discussion, and then, is insurance good or bad? Somebody has raised hand. Nobody has. Okay, that's fine. So insurance is something that you buy and you hope you don't have to use it. Right? If you buy life insurance, you definitely hope you don't have to use it. And the only person who will give you, wish for your long life is your life insurance agent only, because then they'll have to dole out money, right? But insurance generally is something that you get and then you hope that you don't have to use it. So is it a good thing or a bad thing? Really depends. It's a cost benefit analysis that you do. I mean, are you going to really gain anything out of insuring the pencil that you have bought? Because the cost of insurance might be more than the worth of the thing itself, right? But if you have a very expensive gadget, it might be worth insuring it. Like when you buy a house or a car without insurance, you don't have that safety net. Something which is very precious requires some kind of an insurance. So here God is also selling us the insurance policy, okay, by telling Karm Yoga is better. How is it is in, okay, so now the thing is, it provides us an insurance, and that is what we are going to talk about. Because why Karm Yoga is better is because it provides you a safety net, a fallback option. If things go wrong, you still have something to turn to. It's not like doom. It's either here or there, aar ya par, like they say in Hindi, nothing like that. Okay, so you have a safety net, something to fall back to, is what we are going to talk about today. Okay. Now, here we're talking about insurance for something which is priceless. What is that priceless thing? Human life. It's not a very ordinary commodity that you don't care whether it is insured or not. It is a very priceless and a very precious thing. So carrying a good insurance is very important, right? Good insurance means which pays you as soon as something goes broke. And that is what we are going to talk about. Why Karm Yog is an insurance against that. So yesterday we spoke about a couple of actions, type 1, type 2, mind and intellect, mind, intellect plus attachment. Attachment comes in, which changes the game, right? It is one of the most unholy things. Now, Karm Yog basically means when we operate, we are operating by leaving that attachment aspect out. Okay, so there's a boat. We have spoken about this example. So boat resides in water, but the boat does not let the water reside in it. And so there's a funny story or a joke, I should say. So somebody was asked that, the boat was there in the water, and they say, what will you do if you see there's a hole in the boat? Right? And there's a hole in the boat and the boat in the water, we know what will happen. So this person says, I'll poke another hole in the boat. He said, why? He said, the water will come from one and go out from other, right? It doesn't work that way. What are these holes in the boat of our Karm Yog? Karm Yog is like that boat, staying in the water and not letting the water come inside. What are these holes which let the water trickle in? These holes are the attachments. Yesterday we said the unholy thing is this attachment that you see on the right hand side. This attachment is the holes or the perforations that we create in our boat, which start leaking water inside, which finally drown us. And what is this drowning? That drowning is repeating back in this 8.4 million game that we are doing. So our undoing is, or those next time you start building an attachment, think, I'm again putting a hole in my boat and now it's going to drown again. Okay, that thought, do the meditation few times and it will put things in perspective. Okay, so the lesser goals you have, the better it is. So this is what we are talking about. So why we should, these are the 4 principles of Karm Yoga. Do your duty, don't concern yourself with the results. Fruits of your actions are not for your enjoyment. Even while working, give up the pride of doership. Do not be attached to inaction. And we spoke, there's a reason for that because there are multiple result influencers. It's not that I worked hard, so I deserve it and I demand it and I need to have this particular result. And if I don't have it, I'm entitled to feel upset or dejected. Doesn't work that way because it's a function of so many variables and not just your effort alone, as we see that. But when we are overly concerned about the results, then the next thing happens is it leads to expectations, which in turn leads to anxiety. And anxiety can lead to suboptimal performance. So one thing is leads to an anxious, agitated mind. And then when the mind is not steady or stable, then it can lead to a suboptimal performance because your mind has to be its optimum best for us to perform in anything. So when our exams happen, we are able to bring in that whole focus, razor sharp focus and stuff like that, just so that we can focus on the task at hand. But an anxious, worrying, distracted mind cannot perform to its optimum ability. NATO, we spoke about it. And we spoke about the serenity prayer as well. Hopefully, this is something you make it as one of the punchlines of the motto of your life. Put it somewhere. It's a beautiful prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to differentiate the two. That wisdom aspect is very important. More often than not, if you ask this question to yourself when you are worrying about something or building that anxiety, is it within the circle of my control or not? If not, then we pray to God to give us the wisdom so that we can differentiate and focus only on things that are within our control. Now, who's a Karm Yogi? This guy you see in animation, he's a Karm Yogi. Okay. So it's a deep verse. Let's understand it one word at a time. Okay, why this gentleman is a Karm Yogi? Because he's earning money, right? But then at the same time, he's performing his spiritual duties as well as his social duty. Social duty, he has to take care of his family. He has to earn wealth. But at the same time, he's taking care of his spiritual duty as well because probably he's chanting, remembering God. Mind is attached to God. So because, or the big picture aspect of it, why he's doing what he's doing is clear in the mind. right? So somebody could be working, but their mind could be attached to God. Again, it's the intention that you bring to that particular task that makes the whole difference. And that becomes a Karm Yog. So that act or activity may sound mundane or worldly, but the thought process behind that act can actually make it spiritual. So you could see somebody working, but that person could be spiritual or doing Karm Yoga. On the contrary, you could be seeing somebody who's doing pujas, rituals, but their mind could be worldly. So we don't look at the outside. It's a very deep concept, right? Spirituality is not about coloring your clothes. It's about coloring your heart, antakaran. Okay, that is the key thing. And so let's move on. So a Karm Yogi has both the aspects added to their life, the spiritual and the social duties. Social duties are done with the body, the tan. And yesterday we said, while the mind is attached to God. So the body and senses, they are in the world, but the mind aspect is attached to God. And that is a practice we need to deepen. Anything that we are doing, I was talking to Vaishnavi today. She was asking about, some of the things that we can do when we are cleaning the home, cooking. If you're thinking about God, that is precisely what Karm Yoga is. Shabri did that for 40 years. She would think today could be the day when Lord Ram is going to come, my Ram is going to come. And she would clean the home and the way and decorate it, adorn it with flowers, thinking that today could be the day. So when you build that consciousness, that becomes Karm Yoga. Karm Sanyas, so let's talk about it. Now, body and senses have to do work in the world. The mind aspect of Karm Yoga, basically. So when this is not Karm, so this is Karm Yoga, it's a typo here. So when your body and senses are in the world, but your mind also has two components to it. Mind is in God, and intellect, of course, you need to use to operate effectively in the world. Yesterday we spoke about this concept. You need your buddhi to operate effectively in the world. So you're putting your body and senses in the world. Of course, part of your mind is also, if you are, to operate effectively in the, but your mind, your attachment is there in the God, right? That purpose is clear, or for whose sake are you doing that is God. That is what becomes Karm Yoga. It's not Karm Sanyas. And if we go to Karm Sanyas, what happens is, now it is for elevated soul. So that doesn't mean you are less elevated. It basically means you have cut the corner from a Karm Yoga standpoint, possibly, or maybe the lessons that you were supposed to learn, or the purification that God had planned for you through Karm Yoga, you have already gone through those lessons. So then you are already situated in this understanding that you are a soul. But that doesn't mean your antakaran has become squeaky clean already. So you might already be situated in that conception that I am a soul. It is very deep in you already. And in that case, you are eligible or entitled to reject your bodily dharma. So the social duties aspect is cut, but the spiritual duties, they continue. This is the only difference. The social duty aspect you can reject, but you cannot do it on your own. You need an expert guidance of Guru or God. Now, God is not going to come and tell you, hey, you know what, Mr. Karam Sanyasi, you are ready now. You have to, it will come via Guru. So Guru can guide you that, Karam Sanyas is your path forward. Social duties can be rejected. Here you don't have to take care of Chunumunu and all that stuff. You can directly focus your body, mind, and senses to the service of God. But there's definitely an intersection and an overlap between that, right? Now, would you call Swamiji a Karam Yogi or a Karam Sannyasi? In one sense, he's a Karam Sannyasi, in one, he's a Karam Yogi. Mr. Modi, you do call Karam Sannyasi or a Karam Yogi, both. There's an intersection, right? You still have to operate in the world. So basically, if you look at this picture, so the sentiment of Karam Sanyas, that, beautiful story when Lord Ram is going for the exile, and then he gives that lecture to Lakshman that go, you take care of mother, father, and parents, because if all of us are going to be going to the forest, who's going to take care of them? And that is your dharma as the son. Then he said that moi sabai ek tumhi swami, that tomeva mata cha pita tomeva. We all say that prayer, right? Even in temple. And then he's actually living that prayer. And he's actually eligible for that. Lakshman was anyway an avatar of Anantashesh. And in Dwapar, he came as Balaram because he said enough for being Bade Bhaiya, and can you give me the privilege of becoming your Bade Bhaiya now so that I can boss around with you? So he said Tathastu. So next Janam he came as Balaram, but he's already a Nitya Siddh. They're all liberated souls, right? So he was already eligible for Karm Sanyas. So Lakshman said to Ram that you are my master, father, mother, friend, and everything. I don't know any other mother, father, and all that. So they are my material father, right? Nothing more than that. You are my spiritual father. Don't you know that? And then he said, Ram had to agree. And he said, my param duty, paradharma, is to fulfill my duty towards you. And that automatically absolves me from my bodily duties. And Ram said, yeah, that is correct. But Lakshman had the eligibility. We cannot prematurely renounce it. We will build on this concept later, but let's understand for now that Karam Sanyas, you rise beyond your bodily duties and focus only on your spiritual duties. While in Karam Yog, you do both bodily duties as well as spiritual duties. Now, why it is an insurance policy? Because what if you are not able to discharge your spiritual duties properly? So the bigger the opportunity, the greater the threat to. Now, for a Karam Sannyasi who's completely doing that, who's already rejected that aspect, if there is a fall down, right, if it's not done under the expert guidance of a guru, then there is no safety net because they've already rejected the worldly duties. But for a Karam Yogi, if they are not able to do, or they are doing it but not to a perfect T, still they are, they are performing their bodily duties, and bodily duties, the way they are designed, it's automatically resulting in purification. So you have a safety net there, and that is the insurance policy I was talking about, and that is the reason Lord Krishna has recommended Karam Yoga is superior to Karam Sanyas, because it is giving you that insurance policy, and it is doing the trick as well. What is the trick? Purification of your mind and senses is happening automatically in Karam Yoga as well. So the way it works is, this is Karam Sanyas. Now, in all the three are dedicated to God, but you could still be using your intellect in the world, and mind is anyway observed in God. So if you look at Karam Yoga, mind and body were in world, mind in God. Here, body, mind, senses, everything is dedicated to God, because spiritual duty is the only thing that they focus on. Okay, everything is directed towards that. And basically, you are no longer implicated in the worldly dharma in that case. This becomes the basis for Karm Sanyas. The key thing here to understand is, okay, this is an important slide. We come to the difference, basically differences between the two, Karm Yoga and Karm Sanyas. So Karm Yoga, it's a body consciousness which majority of the people have. We think of ourselves as a body. We have heard about it. We are a soul, but that concept has not sunk in deeply as yet. So until we wake up the true nature of our soul by performing the spiritual duties, and the practicing spirituality, and the practicing all the concepts that spirituality talks about, then once we have awakened our true nature, and we are in the advanced stage of this understanding, we are a soul and not this body, then the Karam Sannyas is eligible for you. So Karam Sannyas is spiritual consciousness. You're already in that consciousness. Karma Yoga is for people who are in bodily consciousness. Then what is the next difference? The time is split between worldly and spiritual duties. You will be splitting the time because you have to do the worldly things as well. You have to sustain your family, and you have to earn and do all of those duties as well. So the time is split. But the good thing about it is that even when you're doing worldly duties, they becomes devotional with the concept of Karma Yoga. So you are doing it for the pleasure of God and not for your own sake. So instead of bhogi, you have become yogi, even in performing those duties. So that is actually giving you a safety net as well, because if you're not able to discharge your spiritual duties, you have the worldly duties that is taking care of it. But those worldly duties are also done in a consciousness that is uplifting and purifying and not binding you further. Yeah. Now, in this full-time in energy is energy in spirituality, 24/7. Every activity is directed towards the work of God or Guru. That's all you do when you take up a Karam Sannyas. What is the next one? It's a fallback option is available. You have a plan B in life. It's always good to have a plan B, plan C, plan D, right? And in this case, there's no fallback option. Okay, that is why you cannot do it on your own. If you decide that I've had enough of this world, then it doesn't work that way. Okay, we have to really understand the spirit behind, taking a Karm Sanyas aspect of it. So Karm Sanyas is something that you do only under the expert guidance of a guru. Think of Arjun. He was talking about Karm Sanyas to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna said, no, instead of trying to imitate somebody else, you honor your gunas of being a Kshatriya. Fight the war. He said, even if you renounce your action right now and say, I'm going to become a sannyasi, then what will happen is, even if you go to forest, you will, your gunas will tell you that you will form a small army of people with tribals and then start fighting wars, because that is what your propensity, tendency, or predisposition, mental predisposition is. Some people who are good in business, no matter where they go, they will start some business. Even if they are in jail, they'll start a small business there. Or people who like to distribute gyan, no matter where they are sitting, they'll start doling out stuff, right? It reminds me of somebody whom I know. Okay. And then those kind of things can happen. So he said, rather than imitating somebody else, you live up to your own nature. And that is the way to go. Now, there was a guy who comes to his Guruji and king. He says, I am a renunciate. Okay, I want to renounce the world. Please accept me as your Shishya. And he left his palace and everything. So Guruji looks at him. He said, you're not ready. You're not a renunciate as yet. Go back. So he thinks, you know what, I left my palace, everything, and Guruji is saying, I am not a renunciate as yet. What does it mean? So he goes back. He said, maybe the attire that I'm wearing, that might have led him to believe that I'm not a renunciate. So next time he goes and he wears a plain clothes, khadi and very bland clothes, simple clothes, and goes, to the Guruji. And Guruji said, I had told you, you are yet not detached. So you go back. Then he said, what happened? I've worn this simple clothes and Guruji did not even accept me. And then he said, okay, let me wear the birthday suit only. He took off those clothes also and went in front of Guruji. And Guruji said, what kind of a circus it is? Anyways, he didn't say that. But he said, no, you're still not ready. So go back. So he said, what's the point of my life when my Guruji is not accepting me? So he simply sat down. He said, okay, I'm going to just sit down and give up my life. What's the point of living when my Guruji is not accepting, even though I have rejected everything in this world? So he simply sat down, anshan, like Anna Hazare did, but in this case, for a good reason, for his own self. So he sat down. 1 day passed, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day, 6 day, 7 day. Now Guru, they inquire from within, right? Like Guru is not only inquiring us from outside, but they keep on inquiring and checking on us from inside as well. So he's checked on him. And then Guru realized that this guy is truly working on himself. So Guruji came in front of him and he said, hey, Tyagiji, get up. You great renunciant, why don't you get up now? He listened and he continued. He did not even have this feeling that I'm a renunciate, because if he had that feeling that I'm a renunciate, that means he's not truly a renunciate. His mind is still attached to the world. So even he forsake that feeling too. So that is the state of renunciation. When you are in that stage, those are the stage where Guru can tell you, now you're ready for Karm Sanyas, or maybe you're ready for the full Sharanagati itself. But those are the stages. And what is the changing in that person? The external renunciation, no, it does not matter. It's an internal aspect of it. That is why changing your clothes or changing your externals does not help. Spirituality is all about your internal being, what you're doing. And there's another story of King Janak. King Janak, when he was a king, he would do Sam, Dand, Bhed, everything. And his Guruji would make him sit right in front and other disciples, behind. And these other disciples, they were monks, they were renunciates. They would always wonder, why do they make King Janak sit in front? Some favoritism is going on here with Guruji. So he asked him, why do you make King Janak, sit in front of, he's a king, we are renunciates. The Guruji said, all right. And then he did that Leela, he orchestrated that. So somebody came in, he said, to Janak, your palace is on fire. So Janak listened to it and he said, okay, Guruji, can you please continue the Brahma Vidya that you were teaching? He was least bothered about it. Then he said, your queen's palaces are on fire as well. Everything is going to burn down to ashes very shortly. He looked at it, okay, he said, doesn't matter, nothing belongs to me anyways. Guruji, can you please continue on the Brahma Vidya part of it? He was least bothered, even though he was a king. On the other side, then Guruji again, just to prove the point, what he did, he put a fire in the boys' hostel there as well, and somebody's langoti caught fire. And these boys ran to save their langotis. So Guruji said you could not tolerate, your langoti burning down. And here, look at what Janak did. So point is, he was Viday. It is an internal attitude, not the external thing. So you may be seeing somebody coming in car, and so if Krishna were to manifest today, you think he'll come in his pitambar and flute? Flute might be there, but he'll be a dude, right? He'll come in gogs and, I don't know, black suit or white suit, but you can't go with externals part of it. It's an internal thing, spirituality. And that is what Karm Yoga and Karm Sanyas aspect of it's an internal thing. You cannot become a renunciate just by coloring your clothes in saffron and saying, I'm going to forest. It does not matter. It's the inner aspect of it, the detachment that only God and Guru can know. Okay, so when you're ready, they only can guide you. So for us, the safer, recommended path is Karm Yoga. And we know the reason for that. That is why God has spoken about why Karm Yoga is superior to Karm Sanyas. And the second reason for that is, if somebody does Karm Yoga and they do it well, people can follow. Yeah? We all look for role models. But if they are renounce the world, then people just follow the externals. They will say he's a renounce and we are also going to become renounced. So this is another reason why God is saying go for the Karm Yoga path. At least it'll set a good example for others as well. Because the spirituality is a game from inside, not an external game where you are changing your clothes, growing your beard, doing this and that. Doesn't matter at all. It's the inner software aspect of it, how much it is getting cleansed and programmed, aligning to the ultimate purpose of life, where you get this conception or that understanding that we are eternal fragmental part of God, and it's in giving one shall receive. The seva sanskars, waking up the true nature of our soul, purifying it by connecting and immersing and absorbing it in pure things. That is what truly matters, and not the things that we keep on adding in our lives and taking on more and more combination of colors of Maya, right? Those three colors are there, and there are different shades of that as well. So hope these two stories put Karm Yoga and Karm Sanyas in perspective. It is the software part of it, not so much of the hardware part of it, right? Which matters. Can be practiced by majority people, requires expert guidance of a guru. We have already spoken about that. Spoke about the example of Janak. It's an internal thing. And that Shishya who was requesting Guruji to accept him, and Guruji was rejecting him, until Guruji inquired from within and came to him and said, okay, now you are ready. So it's not the external renunciation aspect of it, but the internal part, which that inquiry can only be carried out by a guru. We cannot know that ourselves. See, we walk around trying to change the world and get to know what's going on in people's head, but the irony is that we don't even know about ourselves, how our mind works. And whether we are ready for something or not, it's not a decision that your own buddhi can give ever. Because buddhi is very smart. Buddhi will never pronounce a judgment against itself. Has anybody's buddhi said that I'm wrong? It will never do that. It's only when you come in contact with a spiritual guru, a truly realized saint, will you be able to start seeing your own imperfections and defects like football, right? Otherwise, your buddhi will always say that, okay, I'm a good guy, I'm a decent person, and there's nothing wrong I can ever do. Now, those who practice Karm Sanyas, they do not consider themselves to the body. They are Vide. Vide means beyond body, right? So the other name for Janak was Vide. And because of that, Mother Sita's name was Vaidehi. Vaidehi, right? So Vaidehi, it reminds me of that. So when Ravan came to that kutir, right, asking Bhiksham Dehi to Sita, so Sita said Vaidehi, because her name was Vaidehi, right? So that is where the name came from. So they do not feel obligated to discharge their bodily duties. Karm sannyasis, they dedicate their full time and energy to spirituality. Karm yogis have to split their time with worldly and spiritual duties. Okay. Now it takes faith for you to do Karm Yoga. It's like which entity, an entity I haven't even seen, and who it is and what. So you basically as a Karm Yogi relinquish or give up the fruits of your action. As a Karm Sannyasi, you give up the action itself. You renounce so social actions or duties itself. In that case, you perform the duty, but offer the fruit to God, right? So that faith needs to be there. Faith is an essential ingredient on this path. We have spoken about this concept, right? It's a very, very important ingredient, right? We said that even Bible says that faith of a mustard seed can move mountains. So faith has to be there in every walk of life. And if you don't have faith, like Bhagavad Gita also says, I think 4.31, that Sanche Atma Vinashyati na lokosti na parosukham. So there's a famous point, Kaka Hathirasi, right? Humorous point. So there's one of the days his house was on fire. His house was on fire. So people said, we can save you. So they put a big blanket and told him, he was standing on the balcony, jump, we'll save you. He said, no, what if you drop the blanket? Now he's having sunshine in his mind, doubting them. He said, no, we are your friends. Can you jump? We'll just hold you. He said, no, okay, on one condition, I'll jump. He said, what is the condition? He said, you put blanket on the floor and then hold it, then I'll jump. Is it truly going to help? It's not, right? So faith is needed even to, gain materially or get some benefit out of that. So Lord Krishna is extolling, eulogizing, praising, recommending Karm Yog over Karm Sanyas, and in good measure and for reasons that we have spoken about at length. And that is a preferred path for all of us. Okay, so Karm Sanyas is not the preferred path for majority unless your guru is telling you this is the path for you. And Karm Sannyasis are exposed to greater danger. Now, if they cannot absorb their mind in God, they are neither here nor there. Karm Yogis have a safety net. Even if they fall down, unlike Kaka Hathi Rasi, they have a blanket where they can fall and somebody's going to catch them along the way. And there are tens and thousands of such sadhus. Like you go to India, you'll see a lot of people smoking weed. What happens? They prematurely renounce things. They're neither here nor there. So they leave the world, but the world has not left them. That is how it's like that boat inside the water is already inside the boat. Okay, even though so then eventually it will submerge or drown the boat. And the divine bliss, of course, they'll be bereft of that. So it's not the coloring of your clothes. Saffron clothes do not count for anything, although that is a uniform. When somebody is truly renounced, they take on that. But coloring clothes does not lead to that. Okay, that is an after thing, not the thing that leads to that. So there's no cause and effect kind of a relationship there. And Karma yogis do both the duties. Karma sannyasis reject the social duties. They focus their tan, man, dhan, pretty much everything on God. So this is the key difference between the two. I can see a hand. Let's hear from Sandhya. She's going to ask some question and then we'll take the discussion forward. Yeah, go ahead, Sandhya.
So, now this was regarding the faith aspect. If you have faith, then would one really worry about having a fallback option?
Having a fallback option, if you have faith, would you really worry about having a fallback option? So in this particular case, yeah, faith is an ingredient. But then your mind will not give judgment against itself, right? Only Guru can tell you that, do you have the required amount of faith or the eligibility for you to tread this path, completely this path? They would tell you. That is why different people get different directions from Swamiji. I've seen that. Some people are told you continue on the job or you continue doing it forever. Some are told you can give it up. Some are told you give it up and do this. Some are told you give it up and do nothing. Just be there, do these kind of sevas. So they know something more than meets the eye to us, right? So faith, what level of faith is needed is, can pure faith, uh, with pure faith, can we stake a claim for Karm Sanyas alone? I think it will make up for a good question. Does it mean we have developed sufficient detachment from the world because our faith, we are loaded with faith? I think Guru only can tell, right? Because it's a very, very tricky question in the sense that what is the yardstick to say, okay, if you have this much of faith, then you are ready for Karm Sanyas? What is that quantum? What is the measure? So only Guru can inquire that and guide in that case.
And
Good.
one more question. So effectively, if we do not perform Karm Yog or Karm Sanyas properly, the end result is same. And similarly, if we perform both of them properly, again the end result is same, right? And I feel that we don't really have a choice because it is Guru who's going to instruct, right? So from our perspective, we just have to work upon, as you said, inner software, right?
That is true. So when you do this is how it works. It works on your ego. So it is a very visual, nicely illustrated concept here. So when you practice Karm Yoga, you are working on your ego because you are doing it for the pleasure of God. So if you look at this thing, Karm Yoga leads to purification of heart, and that purification of heart can directly lead you to God realization. Okay, it's not that you have to go from Karm Yoga to Karm Sanyas and then to God realization. And then, of course, it can lead you to Karm Sannyas as well. Okay, we don't know if there are certain things which are still remaining. Guru can guide you and then eventually God realization. So there will be another arrow, Karm Sannyas to God realization. That arrow will complete that. But the point is, Karm Yoga can lead to purification of heart, and that itself can directly take you God realization. It's not a linear process where you do this and then go to Karm Sannyas and then you reach God realization. Himanshu, you had raised your hand. Go ahead. You had a question. Yeah, it is there. She was just a click away. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe, everyone. Radhe Radhe, Nitinji.
Mhm.
Now I was just listening to Sandhya ji's point, and I was thinking that in any case, when we say the Guru knows, like it is totally based on our past tendencies and karma, right? And the Guru will obviously know that, not us, because we forget everything from the past. So, like we do Roop Dhyan, so what kind of bhav is coming naturally depends on what we have been doing in our past. Similarly, in Kali Yuga, it is, I think, a bit impossible for someone to go for Karm Sanyas, and obviously the Guru can let us know about it. But like I think that for Bhakti, Karm Yoga is good because we can find seva in anything and convert it into divine
Sentiment.
instead of sentiment.
True. So in Bhakti Marg, we do seva, and that is why again I want to reiterate the importance of seva, because when we do seva, we are awakening the true nature of the soul, right? Because we are eternal fragmental part of God, and as part of God, we have to serve the whole. So when we are doing seva, we are actually invoking the true nature of the soul, and that is the way forward in the path of bhakti. You do seva, and ultimately that realization will keep dawning upon you that you are this divine soul. Unlike Gyan Marg, where you do the negation, neti neti, you do the negation and the contemplation. I'm not this body. I'm not this body. I'm not this mind. I'm not this mind. Not this intellect. And finally, you come to the conclusion by elimination. You are the soul, right? But in this case, you do the other way. You just focus on awakening your true nature, and then it will keep on taking you closer to the goal of life. Other aspect that helps in the path of bhakti is when you go through that path of seva and sadhana, you are tapping into God's grace. God starts taking control of you, your spiritual journey. In the marg of Gyan, you are on your own. Like Marjar Kishore Nyay and Markat Kishore Nyay, our scriptures say. So when you're in the path of Gyan, it's like a monkey mother, right? When she jumps from one branch to another, the onus is on the baby monkey to hold on to it. If the grip is loosened, it will fall. That is how the Gyan Marg is. But in this case, when you're relying on God and His grace, it's like the baby of a cat. The mother carries the baby along the path. So Bhakti Marg is in that sense not only easier, but something which is naturally comes to the soul as well, right? So, and it is a recommended path anyway in the age of Kali, because we are not intellectually so equipped to perform austerities or understand Bhagavad Gita within 3 hours like Arjun did. So Bhakti is a recommended path as well. So thank you for calling that out, Himanshu. Yes, any other questions? So if you look at this elevator, end of the day, Karm Yoga is a bodily consciousness which will lead you to the spiritual consciousness, right? When you do it with the Seva Bhav, you relinquish the fruit, it will automatically take you to the spiritual consciousness, which is what Karm Sanyas takes you as well. You're already there. And finally, it leads you to the eventual purification or complete Sharanagati or complete purification of your heart. So this is how this process unfolds. Karma Yoga is also taking you there, and Karm Sanyas is also taking you there. You could jump from any stair of Karma Yoga directly to the end of the escalator, or you could take an escalator, the higher step on Karm Sanyas, and then go there. Both options are available. So this particular slide, if you look at it, this encapsulates it really well, right? So if you look at it, you can go through Karm Sanyas, Karm Yoga, Karm Sanyas, God realization, or you can go through Karm Yoga itself. That should suffice. You don't have to really think that I need to become a Karm Sannyasi in one of my lifetimes. Not necessarily. And Karm Yoga is an insurance policy. Like we initiated this discussion, insurance is good. Insurance is very good when it comes for something which is very expensive. And our human life is not only expensive, but it's priceless. Right? So we cannot just let it go astray without any backup plan. Yes, Sandhya.
So, it is said that usually people who are situated in soul consciousness, um, I mean, of course, it has to be added by Guru's instruction, but they are closer towards being eligible for being a Karm Sannyasi. So, what is it that if one has if one has realized that they are a soul, what is it then that prevents them from realizing God?
I don't know, that Antakaran Shuddhi is a pretty complex thing, right? There might be
So, if
certain aspects which are some advanced lessons might be there when you completely have your Antakaran Shuddhi done. God only knows that. That means there are still some lessons even after you have reached that you are situated in this understanding that you are a soul. So you may have certain more things for your Antakaran Shuddhi before God says now you are a pakka thing. Okay, you still had a few more things to do. I don't know what is that thing, but this is how it goes. But another way of looking at it is look at a fruit. Fruit on a tree. If you pluck it forcefully, then it is not ripened, right? It will not carry the taste that the nature endows it with if it goes through the regular cycle. But when the fruit is ripe, it automatically falls down. So that detachment is already come, right? It's ready to leave the tree. You don't need to force it out of the tree. So that is how typically what happens, I guess, from Karam Sanyas, Karam Yoga aspect as well. When somebody's ready for Karam Sanyas, they are just ready. And Guru knows it. You are ripened to be picked up for that. Now, what is remaining? What is delta? Swamiji can answer that. There must be some delta. That is why it is said your Atma Gyan is not Brahma Gyan. Even after self-realization, you still have to go through some hoops to become God realized. So that's much deeper thing. So there could be something more, I guess. Okay, 7 more minutes. Samji, you have to ask something. Okay, Monica ji is going to ask. Go ahead, Monica ji.
Radhe Radhe. So Nitin ji, leave on to humans and we being imperfect. I'm sure. I mean, unless we have some siddhis or something, perfecting Karma Yoga itself is so tough. We can just give our 100%, right? So let's say, I mean, Krishna will help us, right? If we are trying our level best, 100%, right? Because perfecting Karma Yoga itself is, I don't think, I mean, because especially if you're a grahast, right? You have your commitments and everything. Even if you try your level best to dovetail everything towards Kanha, there will be time where you'll be consumed in other activities where you'll just forget about, your Karma Yoga. So he'll help us, right?
Of course. See, if you look at verse 9.35, he says that na me bhakta pranashyati. Okay, so he's telling Arjun, declare it boldly to the world that none of my devotees are ever lost. So when you are doing it, leaving it on Kana, he also understands that we are not perfect. We are conditioned souls, right? We have, been leading lives with our secret trash across so many lifetimes, infinite lifetimes. But then he says, Na me bhakte pranashyati, which gives a lot of hope to devotees. He's not saying na me jnani pranashyati or na me yogi pranashyati. He's saying bhakta pranashyati. So when you are devoted to God, he takes control. He takes your responsibility at that moment. He said, my devotee is never lost. And why is he asking Arjun to say that? He could have said it himself. The reason for that is God may break his own vow under exceptional circumstances, like he did in case of Bhishma. He lifted the weapon, he broke his own oath. But when his devotee says something, he cannot break it. So he's telling Arjun, you declare it so that I'm obliged and my commitment is locked. So when you are actually relying on Krishna, of course, you're going to get into help. That is the beauty of the path of devotion. You are not going alone. Now you're tapping into grace, and with God's grace, anything is possible. He will provide for what you need. He will destroy what you have and what you don't need. And then he will preserve what you already had and you need more of. So all three things he will take care of through Guru. or directly. So that is the best part of being on the path of bhakti and leaving things to God. So be hopeful, be optimistic. You don't have to worry about it. We'll get there. Don't worry. You've already taken the big first step, right? So all good.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, good question. Yes, Imanshu, I think we have 4 minutes before our next session. So let's quickly wrap up. Please fill out the feedback tracker if not already. I hope you posted it on the ground. So please fill it out if you have any questions. Tomorrow we'll move to 5.3 and we will continue to build on this topic because these all shlokas are interrelated, conceptually. So we'll continue to build on that. Yes, Imanshu, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying on Monica ji's point that as Swamiji says that we have to reach a stage where we are doing Chintan and Bhakti incessantly, right? Without pause, without interruption. Our mind is always attached to God.
True.
So in Karm Yog, as she is saying that, sometimes we are stuck in few things. But I think when our with sadhana, when our detachment increases and our expression towards God, like towards Nishkam Seva increases, I think that thing automatically happens. What you just asked.
And then God is not saying, keep thinking about me. We have to understand this deeper aspect. Attachment aspect has to be there with the God. Right? And Sarveshu Kaleshu is the ultimate goal. But in order for us to get to Sarveshu Kaleshu, first we have to do frequent Kaleshu, right? Until so it could be 1 hour, maybe 30 minutes, and then 15 minutes. We have Radha Krishna Bhakti app. You can set your reminders, Karm Yog reminders there. So Sarveshu Kaleshu is the final state. And God does not make any exceptions, right? He does not say Sarveshu Kaleshu except when you are watching Netflix or except when you are doing this. He says Sarveshu means there has to be continuity. So this is a pretty advanced stage, of course. Think about it. And how can that help? It's only going to help when you have immersed yourself in God. What is that emotion in God? It's like when you are in devotion, right? Devotion is the emotional meditation where you melt your heart. And only when you melt your heart can it take on the color, additional color. Right? So then you have to melt your heart and take on that color so that it becomes synonymous with your identity. It's a very deep state, right? So I think that's how we need to reach that. It says, right, ye anuragi chitta ki gati samjhe na koi, jyon jyon dube sham rang, tyon tyon ujjwal hoi. So as you keep on attaching your mind to God, it will start becoming cleansed, and that, you will start gaining that, what you call that feeling as well. It will reinforce your faith along the path as well. And that's the purpose of Karm Yoga as well. 1 more minute to wrap up the conversation. Anybody else? So love, devotion is the key word, right? They say Krishna Krishna sab kare, thag thakur aur chor, prem bina reeje nahi, premi Nand Kishore. So love, devotion, building that, is the key here. Okay, so with that, I know it's time. So Radhe Radhe, good night, good day from my side. You can stay back for the next session. Sunil Bhai is knocking on the heels, and I see Ajay as well. So all yours. Radhe Radhe, thank you from my side. I'll see you all tomorrow. Please fill out the feedback tracker if not already. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin Bhai. Thank you, Sandhya ji. Thank you, Shyam ji. As always, Amritwani ji is there too. Everybody for a wonderful session as always. So let's just stop the recording.